Psalms have been such a huge part of my life, my growth, my journey with Christ. And I find, man, where to dive in? I've had like a pretty tough 8 years. And I don't know how I would have got through them without finding my voice in the Psalms, to be able to pray, to be able to just talk to God about what I'm feeling and find in the Psalms, whether they're from David or some of the other writers, just the emotions I'm feeling, permission to feel them, and some kind of way to speak to God about what I'm going through. I'm of the mind, I think Mike is the same way, where with a little bit of background, a little bit of history and context, the scriptures come alive a little bit more. And you could ask me then, well, what is going on in David's life? And this is one of the rare Psalms where we actually know what's going on in David's life. There's an inscription that says, a Psalm of David when he fled from his son, Absalom. I don't know if you guys remember that story, but David had already been ruling for some time. And as he grew more and more preoccupied with the politics and government responsibilities, he had this son, Absalom, who had become, I guess, like in my words, a little bit of a terror. And to some degree, it's David's own fault. Like, he would not correct him. He would not discipline him. Even when Absalom killed his own brother, David never really intervened. And so while David's busy running the kingdom, Absalom put together one of the great PR circuits of all time. And he turned the favor of the people of Jerusalem towards himself. He would meet at the city gates where so much business was being done and just win the favor of people. And soon he had enough people, including so many of David's trusted friends. One of his counselors, a guy named Ahithophel, people David went to war with, people David had broken bread with, walked to the house of God to worship with. And one after one, people in the kingdom began turning against David to side with his son Absalom, who wanted to kill him so he could have his father's throne. And all of this came about so quick, so fast, that David, under the cover of night, had to flee Jerusalem with the people that were still faithful and loyal to him. And we read about this actually in the scriptures. It says that he came down from Jerusalem across the Kidron Valley up the Mount of Olives. And it says that he made that journey weeping, barefoot, humiliated, while people along the side of the road mocked and ridiculed him. His head was covered in sorrow. He just had to slip out of town. And I imagine, as a father, I've got kids 24 and 21, I think the greatest pain of it all is that you're doing that because your son wants you dead. And so here's David in this big moment. I cannot imagine the pressure that he felt, how suffocating that all must have been. And as we're going to read, he's crying out to God for deliverance, for rescue.